whoever, you know?
First guest of the day, dual threat analyst, quarterback spectacular at BYU, national champion Blaine Fowler. Uncle B, back in Studio B. Welcome, my friend.
What's up, guys?
We're talking about undervaluing and overvaluing things. What's being overvalued at this point in BYU football fall camp?
See, I don't know, because I like kind of try to get the pulse of what the fan base is thinking. And everybody I talk to goes, man, if they can just get to 6 wins this year and get to a bowl game, I'll be thrilled. And so I've really had a hard time finding somebody that goes, man, we're going to win 10 games. So I think that when you have a season like last season, you know, and we know the reasons behind it, lots of injuries, struggles at quarterback. When you lose that many quarterbacks, that many tight ends, and that many running backs, you're going to struggle on offense, right? So we know the reasons, but I think it reset the bar a little bit. And as I'm out there in the community and talking to people, you know, I'm feeling like, man, they need to win 7, and maybe they can win 8 if they split these first 2 games. So I think I'm a little more positive than the fan base. I don't know that the fan base is overvaluing anything. They're just hoping to get back to a bowl game and have that be a stepping stone to maybe 8 or 10 wins the next year, and then all of a sudden they're back as a prominent program. So it depends on what perspective you're talking about. Maybe I'm overvaluing some things, but I don't think the fan base is, honestly. I think they have realistic expectations out there.
What's being undervalued, in your opinion, from fall camp?
So I think that BYU is going to be better up front than people think they are, because there's going to be some young guys playing up there, but they really, in fall camp, from what I have seen, are stepping up and playing the part really well. Physically, I think it'd be really good up front. But you could, before it's all said and done, have 2 redshirt freshmen and a redshirt sophomore starting on the offensive line.
Let's talk about who those guys are.
So Brady Christensen is a fantastic young, a player. We're talking about Empey at center, who's in a battle for that starting center job, but he's a redshirt freshman. So there's your 2 redshirt freshmen, right? Mm-hmm. That's. And then Tristan Hodge, who's a redshirt sophomore, should be starting there, will be probably starting there, as long as these guys are all healthy all at the same time. Think about that. Now they look the part.
You've got your vets on the edge,
right?
too.
And then you've got Austin Hoyt, who's grown into that job, actually lost some weight this offseason, playing at like 6'7", 6'8", 315 pounds with a ton of experience. And Schoaf, who's grown into his job, now playing guard, who started out as an undersized 250-pounder playing in the offensive line, getting an unbelievable amount of experience. And all of a sudden, he's grown up to a 305-pounder. And so you have a nice blend of a couple of veteran guys that have grown into those jobs with some unbelievably talented youth. And then I love the depth, because we have a bunch of guys just like Brady Christensen and just like Tristan Hodge behind him. They're all 6'4" to 6'6". They're all long and lean. They're way more athletic than what BYU's had up there the last couple of years. So, I think people don't know what BYU has up front, but when I go to practice and I go down in ISO on that group for a few minutes, I go, wow, BYU's back in the offensive line business. And I recognize that they may make some assignment errors this year, but physically I feel they'll be up to it. I think they'll be good up front this year, which will surprise some people. They'll be able to run it better. They'll be really good next year. And then 2 years from now, I feel like BYU's back in the business of, okay, how many NFL guys do they have up there? Because I feel like the talent level is there, and now it's just the experience that's coming along. So to me, I think people don't understand how good they could be this year up there, and how good they can be moving into the future up front.
Blaine Fowler with us on BYU Sports Nation. You know a thing or two about playing quarterback. You did so for BYU. In fact, you threw the first pass on nationally televised ESPN college football against Pittsburgh. The one win that BYU has over a
1-13
top 10 team on the road in the history of Cougar football. But who's going to be the guy that starts at Arizona? Right now, who's the starting quarterback?
I think if you played tomorrow, you would start Tanner. I know, Jarom, that's been your thing. And I think these coaches wanted somebody to come in and just be so dominant that it was an easy decision. And I think what's happened is Zach Wilson has been so good as a freshman that they're going, wow, all of a sudden we actually have a decision. But I think when it's all said and done, unless he is head and shoulders better than Tanner, then you have to go with experience. I think that's where they're at right now. There have been days in practice when I've come away and I thought, well, I think Zach was just a little bit better today. There's been days that I've come out and I've thought, Tanner was better today. There's been a couple of practices, one of the scrimmages, where I thought Joe was the best guy. And so where there's not been this huge separation, then I think you fall back to who's been on the field the most, who's played in a huge stadium with a lot of fans out there, so who gives us the best chance to win. So right now, I would think that would be Tanner Mangum. Now, these coaches are open-minded enough because Zach Wilson has been so surprisingly good that I think they're going to let this go this week and say, wait a minute, if he all of a sudden is even better than he's been, and now it's just so obvious that we're willing to deal with some freshman mistakes because the talent level is just so much better, they could change their minds. It's going to be a tough thing to do as they start to get ready for Arizona now. So that's kind of how I see it. So the bad news is nobody was just so ridiculously better than everybody else that they just grabbed it. The good news is that I'm okay with any one of those three guys playing right now. And that we couldn't say that last year, right? So depth at quarterback is not underrated. I think it's right on. Any one of those three guys could play, and I think BYU would be okay.
To me, there's a little bit of concern that your senior, today's practice number 14, why hasn't he won it already against a true freshman who's never played? Like, to me, that's a little concerning. And if Tanner Mangum is the backup in game one, where is he mentally as a senior having been a 2-year starter?
And remember, so Tanner's coming back from significant lower body injuries last year. And I felt like his footwork got a little messed up last year because of the injuries. And then when your footwork's bad, the ball takes off, it goes low. You try to change your mechanics with your arm to accommodate for feet. And so I saw his mechanics break down a little bit last year. And with that goes some confidence, right? So he comes back into spring and into fall. In spring, he was limited. Now he's in fall, and I look at good footwork. He's healthy. He's lost the weight. His arm mechanics look better than they did. And so I think this has been a ability, like he had to almost start over again, right, after what he's been through. And so I think that's the start of it. And then the other thing is, it's not that Tanner Mangum's played poorly. It's that Zach Wilson's been really good. Like, he looks really, and mind you, he was in spring ball. So it's not like he's a freshman coming right out of high school in fall camp. He had spring to kind of hone his teeth and learn the offense. So he's not completely void of any experience whatsoever at the college level, but he is a real talent. And so I don't know that we go, why is Tanner not? I think Tanner's playing how I expected him to play. I think Zach's playing better than I thought he would play.
We've never had this where a 2-year starter was met by somebody in fall camp to compete for the job. That's what I'm getting at. Never in the history of BYU was there a 2-year starter that was challenged.
We had a starter that was challenged, but it was different. It was a sophomore and a junior that was going into their senior year. That's when Jim and Mark were here. I mean, so when Mark Wilson was going into his senior year, he had played a bunch. Jim had come in as a sophomore and played really well. And people are going, wow, is Jim better than Mark? Well, Lavelle had 2 really good quarterbacks. He had to make a decision, and
Then he had 2 first round.
Well, I know, and I talked to Jim. Jim, I came in when Jim was a senior, and he would look back at that and go, "Yeah, it was just such a stupid thing." And I'm going, "Well, wait a minute, Jim. Let's think about this from the program's perspective. You had 2 first-round draft pick quarterbacks. Why not redshirt the one and hold him back so now you have him spaced out?" And he goes, I know. So in the end, Jim loves the experience he had here. At the time when they were redshirting him,
it's tough.
he felt like, I'm way better than Mark Wilson. Well, Mark was pretty good and was a really good pro. And then Jim was unbelievable coming off of that redshirt year. Jim broke like 77 NCAA records as a junior and another first rounder. And Jim was phenomenal pro, even with all the injuries. So that's the last time I remember where we have a guy that was really the returning starter where there were questions about, well, should the younger guy be beating him out? But he wasn't a freshman. He wasn't a freshman.
This is unprecedented.
Blaine, great stuff, man. 12 days away. Get yourself ready.
Oh, I'm ready to roll.
After further,
I gotta drop 10 more though, because I'm really not quite.
You and Kyrus
and I gotta stop putting things in our mouth. Is what we gotta do. We gotta put better things in our mouth so we're both ready.
Burritos, yeah.
Kyrus and I need to be on the same diet between now and the opener, and everything will be good.
Exactly. All right, man. Thanks, man.